excited to have you on the podcast and talk about all of your experiences. You've been traveling so much, you've been playing in so many different leagues, teams. I'm super excited to talk more, but let me introduce you to our audience. So we are speaking to Jonathan Campbell, who is an American professional soccer player, currently active for Tiffy Army in Cambodia, and played at the college level at Eastern Tennessee State, and then since then has been playing in the US, in multiple teams, in the Philippines, in Thailand, Cambodia right now. And super excited to learn more about that experience. Also, he's got his profile set up on the SPRTER app, so anyone excited to learn more and connect with Jonathan, make sure to head over to the SPRTER app and follow him there and check out the experiences he's got available over there. But let's dive in. Tell us how you started out playing soccer, and because when you were like 10, 15 years ago, soccer wasn't as big as it is now in the US.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's grown. It's crazy how rapidly it's grown in the US since when I was a kid. But yeah, I started when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I just as any American kid, I grew up playing like every sport mostly. And then it wasn't until about, I'd say around 12 or 13 that I chose that football was like what I wanted to do, or like wanted to be more serious with it. So I kind of stopped playing as many sports and focused more on my football. So.
And from there on, when did you realize, like, hey, I'm actually really good at this, I could go to college with it?
Well, I mean, it wasn't really ever that, because I feel like growing up when you're playing sports, you feel like you're good at like a few different ones, but I think I just had the most passion for football, and I fell in love with Arsenal, like watching Arsenal growing up. So that was like what made me so intrigued with the sport and with football, and like following them as a fan. Yeah.
So Arsenal, would that be like the legendary 2004 Arsenal squad with Thierry Henry and Ljungberg and that?
Yeah, the invincible squad.
I understand. Yeah, they played a pretty good brand of football. So I understand where that liking is coming from. And so then from there on, you're like, hey, I like it. I play really well. Playing in college was obviously, it's a different step from high school or like club to college. And from there onwards, how did you decide, well, I can actually make a living in football, right? There's many, either you get drafted or you don't,
Yeah.
but that in between is an interesting space.
Yes, it definitely is. And I'd say like every step, high school to college to pro, they're like very big steps. So like when you make the step to college, you got to get up to that pace. And then when you make the step to pro, it's like a whole nother pace you got to get up to. But yeah, I didn't I didn't get drafted. I didn't have this straight path. So yeah, I had to grind and, find a way to make it into the professional game, which is not easy because, if you don't have a straightforward path, you have to kind of make your own.
Yeah, and with that draft, sometimes comes like, oh, we drafted that guy. We need to do something. We need to develop them. We need to be more patient. Whereas like if you're not drafted, you're like, well, one bad game and you're out. Sometimes it's that cutthroat, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So you've played in multiple teams in the US, right? The most recent one with Syracuse.
Yeah.
But before, you've been in Miami, Cincinnati?
No, I've
Was
been
it?
in Charlotte Independence is where I was. Yeah.
Okay.
And I played in Miami City, which is USL League Two, and I played in IMG Academy, which is
Okay.
USL League Two as well.
Yeah,
Before.
okay.
Yeah.
So the USL, I saw we know a few of like a few. We got a few common friends and people that we know. A good friend of mine, Michael Ahoud, who played
Yeah.
for Miami FC, and so a few of these guys I know in the soccer world. So USL two, um, how has how is it then different? How is that level different, or how is the football in the US different to going abroad, playing in Thailand, Cambodia, the Philippines?
Well, I'd say in the US, so the highest level I reached in the US was USL Championship, which is like right under the MLS, and it's definitely a very good standard of football. Um, but I'd say like as an American, it's really difficult to be on the pitch regularly as an American player. And like when I was in the USL Championship, I was young, like straight out of college, so I didn't
Hmm.
have a lot of pro experience. And yeah, so that was always hard. And I would say like my when I went over to Southeast Asia, I became a foreign player instead of a local player.
Hmm.
So being a foreign player and signing in these clubs, you have a lot more responsibility, and most of the time you're going to play 90 minutes every match. So you get a lot more game time experience, but you also have a lot more pressure on your shoulders, I'd say, because you're a foreign player and you're expected to, raise the bar of the team.
That's an interesting, yeah, very interesting perspective when you talk about the increased responsibility. Can you elaborate a little bit more, as in you expected to raise the bar, and what happens, and what else comes along with that?
Well, I mean, so in Thailand when I was playing there as well as Cambodia, there's like four foreign spots or five at the most.
Hmm.
So there's only four or five of us that are brought in to basically like change the dynamic of the team, whether you're center back, striker, or midfielder. So I would say like in these areas of the pitch, you're expected to carry a lot more weight than you normally would if I guess if you were playing as a local player in the team or something like that. That's what I meant by that.
And is that mostly on the field, or how's that in relation to the off-field leadership that is expected of you?
Off the field, honestly, they're very lenient as long as you're bringing your performance to the pitch and you do everything you need to on the field. Then what you do off the field, as long as you're professional in the way um, treat the culture and like society and everything, then yeah, you'll be fine. And I'd say like you don't have too many restrictions off the field.
Okay, I watched a previous podcast of yours where you were talking about that responsibility of many foreigners coming over to Southeast Asia, and they start to perform well, and then slowly their performance decreases because of the lifestyle distractions. Can you elaborate on
Yes.
that aspect?
So when I said that, I meant in terms of there's a lot of foreign players that come over here that I believe they lack discipline in their professionalism. So instead of doing what they're supposed to, getting proper sleep, taking care of themselves, maybe they'll like, be going out too much and not taking care of their bodies. And then they start out performing really highly. And then once they keep living that lifestyle, their performance levels start to drop. So that's like what I meant by that, because you see
Hmm.
it all the time over here. You see players come in and they perform 1 or 2 years, and then all of a sudden, they start going down, and then it's hard for them to find a team, and it just becomes difficult. So that's what I meant by the discipline and like seeing other players go through that.
And why has that not happened to you? As in, why, what is your secret to stay that disciplined and to be that professional?
I mean, I love football, and I like to go out every now and then, but I make sure it's, more of a rare occasion than something that's a part of my every week lifestyle. So yeah, I love football and I want to play as long as I can, and I always want to be a better version of myself when I play. So I think that's what drives me and what motivates me to not really lose my discipline as much as maybe some others. I feel like maybe they don't think about the longevity of their career as much as just having fun in the moment.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Now, when you first moved to Southeast Asia, what was it's the experience learning curve? It's very different, right? So I've
Big time.
traveled through Southeast Asia a few times. So as someone who grows up where in Europe or in the US, and then you come to Southeast Asia. So can you talk about that difference from like a football perspective, but as well as from how to adapt from a personal perspective?
Well, so I actually went to Thailand without knowing anything about Southeast Asia. Like had no knowledge of, Thailand or any of the countries surrounding it. So kind of just took a leap of faith and like learned as I went. So yeah, it was a massive culture shock. But I think for someone like myself, I like to learn about new cultures and experience new things. So for me, it was a lot of fun and a really cool experience to see like how people in Thailand, the living is so different. Just seeing people so happy, and there's a lot of poverty in Southeast Asia, and you still see these people that are living in poverty. They're so happy with their lives. Um, I feel like you don't see that as much in the US with the ability to be happy with so little.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, when you're adapting, you're starting, you're like, all right, this is a culture shock. I'll get through this. I'll play. Within Southeast Asia, you've played for a few different teams in different countries. Well, first of all, how did you get to Thailand? Did you have an agent that was taking care of that? Or how did you decide, you know what, Southeast Asia, that's it for me. And then within the region, how did you decide, yeah, I'll transfer over, I'll play in Cambodia, why not?
Um, well, I guess like once you're in that area of the world, like Southeast Asia, once you're in that market, you start to you start to make connections, but getting into the market is really difficult. I was lucky because one of my friends that I had played with in preseason in Seattle Sounders, he had played in Thailand before. So that's the reason I actually ended up going to Thailand, because he was going back over to play again, and he just asked me like, would you want to go give Southeast Asia ago, and that was after I had played in the USL Championship for a year, and then the following season I was playing what's now USL League Two. Back then it was called PDL still, so it's just
Hmm.
like semi-pro. Um, so I had failed to sign in USL Championship again. I was playing semi-pro, just trying to stay fit and get back into the pro game. And yeah, it was basically I jumped right on that opportunity as soon as he said, and went over to Thailand with him.
Okay, so connections is where it's at, and the ability and willingness to say, you know what, I'll do that.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
that's I admire that, as in people taking that. You know what, I don't know, I've never been, but let's go. I think that's that mindset. When we talk about like a growth mindset, that's very much a growth mindset here, as in wanting, as you mentioned earlier, wanting to be a better version of yourself. Like, I'll take that leap of faith. Why not? What could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you mentioned that once you are in the market, you make a name for yourself, you make connections. But why transfer across different countries, and how are they different? Like how is football in those countries different or similar? Like from a level of
Uh,
professionalism, from the way it's approached, from the fans as well.
Different to the US, or just different in terms of Southeast Asia, like the different countries?
I think all of those.
Um, let's see. So Thailand is probably that's probably the strongest league in Southeast Asia is Thai League One. That's where most people that are playing in Southeast Asia would like to play is in Thai League One.
Okay.
Um, so I would say, like, in terms of football, that's where you're going to find your best overall football experience. As for me, I ended up going to Cambodia because I was playing in Thai League 3. Actually, I wasn't playing in Thai League 1, so I was playing in Thai League 3. And I had the opportunity to probably go Thai League 2 the next season. I had some interest from clubs, but for me, I felt like getting top division football would be more beneficial for my career. So that's why I initially went to Cambodia. And I'd also met a coach in Thailand who had been offered a head coaching job in Cambodia. So that was like where that connection came in, and that's what made me go to Cambodia.
Okay. So again, connections here and the
Yeah,
ability and well, opportunity to play at the highest level then.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. You came back over for at the beginning of this year, 22, for about 6 months, around 6 months, if I'm informed correctly, to play with Syracuse.
Yeah, so I came back initially because COVID over here. So when COVID was bad in the US, I was playing football regularly in Cambodia and everything was
Mm.
good. But then it was like a delayed effect. So like once the US was fine, all these Southeast Asia countries turned like really bad and places were hard to get into, stuff closing and stuff. So like 2021, I actually signed in the Philippines, but unfortunately with all the restrictions and everything, like I wasn't as a foreigner, I wasn't allowed in the Philippines. So like
Mm.
that was basically the end of my 2021 journey in the Philippines. So um, yeah, basically, I knew I had to keep playing because you can't just go without playing. And I initially was with the USL Championship team. I was with Hartford Athletic for preseason. Spent time with them. Got to play against New England Revolution, New York Red Bulls. Some good experiences there. But when you're in preseason and you're not signed, it's a whole different game than when you're signed and you're comfortable and you can play. When you're not signed, it's just one mistake and boom, you're cut loose. So yeah, that was a good experience, but in the end, it didn't work out, and then but that led to me signing for Syracuse, and that's exactly what I needed to continue playing and getting games. And yeah, felt good, got my sharpness, got my game fitness, and then my goal the entire time, and even the head coach knew there that my goal was to go back to Southeast Asia football because that's where I built my career for so many years, and made a name for myself. So like he knew that coming in, and he was very good to me. Like I got to play in as many matches as I could while I was there, and got to help the team with my experience. And then when the opportunity came to go back abroad, he was very very open about it and very professional with it, which was really good for me.
And shout out to that coach because you don't see that very often. When I know coaches that would have said, "Well, if you're leaving, I'm going to give someone else the opportunity." If you're leaving anyway, you're like even if it's in 6 months, you're done for me. You're not going to play another minute. I know quite a few who would be like, I think it's wrong that approach, but shout out
Yeah.
to the coach to be professional about it and I mean, basically make most out of your experience for the team in this way, right? So
Yeah, for sure.
you don't see that as often. We should see it much more, and the maturity in coaching, but well, I guess they're only humans as well.
Yeah, everyone's different and how they see it and stuff. And I think he saw it as an opportunity to get a player that had a lot of experience that could bring experience to his team and like help the whole team hopefully grow together. So I think he saw it in like a very positive way. And I'm glad he did because, my time there was nice and it gave me exactly what I needed to get back to Southeast Asia. So very grateful for that opportunity.
That's great to see that and have that chance to be in different parts of the world as well as COVID protocols allow.
Yeah.
It's
Ne
definitely sorry, you.
I'd never lived in the North before, so I was living in New York, which Syracuse, New York, which was a bit cold for me. But no, it was a good experience. Just the North is not my favorite in terms of weather.
We are based in Philadelphia, and I'm threatening the winter that's coming up. So I can only imagine being in Southeast Asia. Like, my life is good. I'm wearing shorts and t-shirt every day.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can absolutely see that. Now, from a fan's interaction perspective, the as a foreign player, whether you're a foreign player in Europe or you're a foreign player in the US, oftentimes those are the fan idols. They're coming here, they're making an impact. They are, those are the ones to follow, right? The designated player rules that you have
Yeah.
in major leagues, or even in Thailand. You said you only have 4 slots available for foreigners, so you're definitely someone who's, as you said, is expected to perform. How's it work? How is the fan interaction in Southeast Asia?
Um, so you mean in terms of like coming to games or just in general, like how they react to like foreign players being in their league or
Yeah, I think it both in terms of what's the atmosphere in a stadium in Thailand or Cambodia, and how do they interact with the players from a fandom perspective?
yeah, well, yeah, I think it's exactly how you described like as a foreign player in like any other country. Like in Thailand, even though I'm playing in Thai League 3, I was playing for a club that has a lot of fans and it was a good experience every time we played at home. And then like after the game, you're signing people's jerseys, you're taking photos, all this stuff. People really look up to you and they're really happy that you're playing for their club from their province or whatever. And then as for Cambodia, it's the same, but the amount of people coming to games, it's an okay amount, but in terms of like the amount of people watching on like Facebook and everything, you get a lot more following through social media than you do at actual games. But still, it's the same thing. Like at games, you'll still have your really loyal fans that will be like looking to take pictures with you or talk with you and everything. And then of course on Facebook and social media, you have people calling you idol and like really happy that you're playing in their country. Um, yeah, as long as you're playing well.
Fair enough, because as soon as you're not, you're out here. Now I
Yeah.
can I can see that. Now when you were talking earlier, you were talking about Arsenal 2004 inspired you when you were growing up. Now you're saying, well, these people they call me idol, and we see athletes being considered role models. Who are some role models for you, and what are you taking away from them to inspire your own behavior?
Well, in terms of off the field, I didn't really follow too closely to like um the players that I like looked up to. Like I only really saw like their character on the field. Um so like I really like enjoyed watching like Sol Campbell, Thierry Henry, and then also Thomas Rositzky was like I was a really big fan of his. So like those are like the main players that I grew up like being, a fan of, and also Ronaldo, the Brazilian one. I
Hmm.
was a big fan of him. So yeah, I think I didn't really follow like their lifestyle off the field too much because you don't really see too much about uh what they do off the field, but on the field, they're just how they carried themselves. Um, and I just really admired them as players.
Yeah, and obviously social media wasn't around at
E-
that time where you
Exactly.
now you would be, yeah, I'll follow Ronaldo's TikTok dances. Well, I mean, I guess he's got social media now, but I mean he's gained a little bit of weight. I let him go. Like the original Ronaldo. You do have
Yeah.
better hair than him, I'll tell you that.
Uh, oh, he had some crazy styles, didn't he?
He did that crazy one for the world. Oh my God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But so I mean, Sol Campbell as a defender. When you say that, I'm like, oh, Sol Campbell. Like, but I guess you're a defender, so you need to have some defender role models there. He
Yeah.
was an absolute weapon in the back, so
Yeah.
I could see that now. Now, when we are like back then, we didn't have the opportunity to, follow them off the pitch. But one thing you mentioned earlier is that as long as you respect the culture, so being someone who's respecting the culture, what does that mean?
Um, well, I think it means that you respect how they live. Um, I don't know, like everything about, so like in terms of Cambodia, you respect like that the players carry themselves a certain way, that they believe a certain thing, that they eat certain foods, like all these things, as long as you show respect and you're not disrespecting different things. Because I could definitely, or I have seen it. I've seen like, some foreign players maybe being a bit like pushing themselves away from maybe the culture and distancing themselves. And I think that's just the wrong thing to do, because if you respect it and um, you go with what the people here expect from you, then a lot of people will love you and you won't have any problems.
Okay, no, so it's all about fitting in and being respectful overall.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. And not disrespecting parts of their life, parts of their culture.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think I mean, in general, that's probably a pretty good guideline to live by wherever we are.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
For sure.
we do have a segment. I know we're almost running out of time here, but we do have a segment that we call Break the Rules, where we ask you to make a rule change in football that you think would make the game better, whatever better means for you.
Oh my gosh, I that's something I've never thought about before. Um, wow. What do people usually say to this question?
It could be change on the rule on the game. It could be something that makes fan engagement better. Like a 12th man on the pitch. It could be like no more red cards. Could be like timeouts. Could be anything. Could be no offside. As a defender, you probably don't like
No, I don't like that
that.
one at all. Um, man, that's I don't know. I'd probably just be boring and say like that you could use a lot more subs or
Hmm.
something like that. You could not only three, you could use like, I don't know, six or seven if you needed to. Um, I don't know. I wouldn't change too much. I sometimes wish that Cambodia had VAR because they don't have VAR yet. Thailand
Hmm.
has VAR, so I think that would be cool in the top league in Cambodia, but I don't think that's coming anytime soon. Um, but
Okay, but
yeah,
that's a pretty good rule change, right? As in we should bring in VAR because it's everyone is complaining about it, but I think it's definitely made the game much more objective.
yeah, for sure. And I think you don't see as many goals allowed anymore that they'd normally be allowed, but once they go back and review them, then it's like, okay, that shouldn't count. So I think it does make the game more fair, especially
Uh,
for for a defender. I feel like.
I can absolutely see that. As a defender, you're like, no, 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 that was offside, but only a little bit, but it was offside. So
Exactly.
now I'm a big fan of the old MLS shootout when it's a draw, but I think I'm in the minority there.
I've only seen it on like people show it on Instagram or something like that. I never like actually saw a game to where it was used.
Yeah, neither have I, but I think it's just one of those things. I'm like, I think that's kind of neat. It's a little bit more exciting than even as a penalty shooter, right? It's like place the ball, you kick it, and I'm originally German, so we do decently well with penalty shootouts. But I'm like the old shootout where you run towards the goalie. I'm like I kind of like that.
Yeah, I guess I mean that's what happens in hockey.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, could
So
learn from other sports and bring it back, but Europeans don't like the Americanization of their sport.
uh, like calling it soccer.
Yeah, I guess. Before I let you go, what's your World Cup prediction?
I mean, I'd be in trouble if I didn't say that US would do well. Um, but I actually do think they have a chance of doing well with a lot of young talent that they have now. Um, but as in who will win the World Cup? Wow. Um, I mean, the safe option would probably be like picking someone like Brazil, I'd say,
Okay.
or
Well,
or or another country, another really strong country.
yeah, I mean, it's so difficult because there's so much luck involved, right? One
Oh yeah.
defender slips and you got the 1-0 up, and then you park the bus, and um, so. But yeah, I think the Brazil is definitely one of those contenders. I mean, they always are, right?
Yeah,
France always
exactly.
strong. Um, so
You
Germany, I
can't,
should say Germany, but I don't trust. I
yeah,
don't
like
think it's gonna happen.
I would normally like Germany's like a really good pick, but I don't know. Lately, I wouldn't pick Germany. I'd pick like,
Yeah.
Brazil, France. I wouldn't pick England either because they just have terrible luck in tournaments. Uh,
And that's important,
yeah,
particularly
I'd
in
I'd like to
tournaments.
I'd like to see the U.S. do well, but I just don't know what to expect from them. They got a lot of young players, but it'd be nice to see them do really well.
I agree. I think up front, the US is pretty strong. I think their center defense or their main defensive line is maybe not as strong as the offensive
Yeah. Well,
line.
I
But
actually I played against both those like the players that usually start in the center back positions. I've played with and against them both. So,
all right, okay.
yeah.
And I
So,
guess they're decent players.
I mean, it was a long time. One was in Seattle Sounders preseason and the other one was in college. So, it's been a long time since
Mm,
like they've they've gotten way better than what they were then.
fair enough. I mean, I'm sure you've gotten better since college as well.
Yeah, for sure. But not US national team level better. But yeah, I definitely have improved a lot and have a lot of awesome unique experiences with playing abroad and stuff like that.
And that's in the end of the day, that's very invaluable, right? Very few
Oh,
people can say that they've traveled around and seen as much of the world as you have, and I think that gives you a very unique perspective on the world as well as yeah, just a lot of experiences to share.
y-
And so I think it's exciting to see how football has brought you around the world almost.
Yeah, for sure. It gives you a whole different perspective. Like you just become a lot more open-minded and you learn a lot more about not only the US or like, countries similar to the US. Your mind's open and I don't know, you just will learn a lot different ways of life and lifestyles and what people value in life.
No, I can absolutely see that, but you almost gotta experience it to understand it. So I'm a traveler at heart. As I said, I've been to Southeast Asia. I lived in Australia for a long time, so it does open your world, your internal world, when you
Yeah.
actually see the world. So um, wanted to say thank you for taking the time for this interview. This was so insightful. So you've got such a unique story that I think our listeners are definitely going to devour. It's like, wow, this is so unique and exciting. Anyone of our listeners, make sure to check out Jonathan at Johnny Campbell. We'll link you out on all of the socials, and check him out on the SPRTER app as well, and connect with him there to check out some of the experiences he's got to offer there and get to know him better and get some advice, Zoom calls, all of those good jam that he's got on offer there. Thank you so much for joining the SPRTER podcast.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day and good luck with the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.